Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 311 of your favourite Formula 1 show. Yes, Knowing Wheel is back. We're here to discuss Formula 1's return from its summer break back at the Dutch Grand Prix. The last ever Dutch Grand Prix. Some people, I think, are going to be happy about that more than others. But of course, as always, I'm joined by my resident, I guess, fake Dutch Formula 1 fan in Jamie183. How are we doing, sir?
Good. I don't know what I've done to be called a fake Dutch. I don't ever really pretend to be Dutch other than supporting Max Verstappen.
Exactly.
But
that was the only thing I could come
lots
up
of
with.
people around the world support Max, not just the Dutch. So,
But mainly
yeah.
the Dutch.
But no, I'm doing well. Good F1 weekend. Obviously, sprint weekend. The less said about the sprint, the better, really. But yeah, it was a good Grand Prix. We'll get into it.
Yeah, well, I mean, luckily, before we obviously get into the Grand Prix, we did the pre-show last Wednesday, didn't we? And of course, at that point, it was still only a rumour rumbling that Isaac Hadjar wasn't going to be in for the weekend. And then subsequently got confirmed, we're not joking, 30 seconds after we finished the show. We always make sure to wrap up before 9 a.m, because that's when Jamie starts his other work. And then Red Bull confirmed it at 9 a.m. But we did get another couple of bits of news, didn't we? Max Verstappen has signed a long-term deal with Red Bull, which did kind of come a bit out of the blue.
Yeah, usually with this kind of extension, you get like a rumour from 2 or 3 weeks before that it's on the cards. And we hadn't really heard much from Team Verstappen over the summer break. So I guess the rumours of him to McLaren were a bit quiet. And then he kind of announced this contract extension. Obviously, he already was in until 2028, so it's gone 2 years longer, and I'm sure there's still a bunch of escape clauses if he really needs them. But for now, at least, I think he loves that team more than he loves the potential of leaving and getting worse when Red Bull might be the team that comes good in the next few years. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a World Championship this year. I don't think it's going to be a World Championship next year, but we will see.
Yeah, and I think it is... I mean, reading through it, of course, again, it's all rumours and speculation, isn't it? It must be such an insane contract from his side of things. I would assume there are so many things that allow him to run Daytona 24 or other big, major events as long as they don't clash with Formula 1 race weekends. There must be so many contract clauses that it means he can get out if he wants to, or, another team comes knocking. I've heard being thrown around upwards of 100 million euros a year as well. Of course, you never quite know how true that is. I've heard apparently he basically just gets to decide what media stuff he wants to do now as well. It's basically kind of... I think Red Bull have got to the point where they've kind of gone, look, we'll basically, to a pretty ridiculous point, give you exactly what you want as long as you stay for a bit longer, which is kind of mad. On the one hand, does absolutely make sense, from driver and team. It will, obviously, if it plays out to the end of its contract, which I think is still, I would say right now, 50-50. It will be the longest driver and team pairing in Formula 1 history, just pipping out Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes as well. It's probably a good move from both sides, though, isn't it? On the one hand, but on the other hand, it is a bit of a shame because I would still be intrigued to see what Verstappen could do not at Red Bull.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I think, for now at least, it makes sense to stay because, as I said, there isn't really another option at the moment.
He's got no better moves that he could take at the moment, sensibly.
Yeah. And the bonuses and the kind of comfort he gets of being at Red Bull, probably no other team can really match unless he got himself in at Mercedes. But to be honest, I don't think Mercedes would have him as much as Toto Wolff is always just talking about Max Verstappen. I don't think they would bin off George Russell or Kimi Antonelli for Verstappen.
They've ended up in a bizarre scenario now, Mercedes, haven't they, where George Russell is actually just quite a good number 2 at the moment.
Well, yeah.
Which is
and
awful
actually,
to say, but kind of how it's playing out.
If you put Max in the seat that George Russell's currently in, I think Max would wipe the floor with Antonelli right now, but then give it 2 years. I think that would be a situation you really don't want.
Nobody's wiping the floor with Andre. You're still trying to downplay
That isn't me being a hater saying that Max Verstappen would beat Antonelli in
No,
equal
you
parts.
said wipe the floor with him. You said wipe. And
that
bear in
just
mind, he'd
means
have to embed
comfortably
himself
beat.
in a new team. I honestly think you overestimate his ability elsewhere. This is why I'd be so intrigued to see him at a different team.
You're saying Antonelli's an equal driver with Max Verstappen. He's one of the greatest of all time already.
I would argue it would be a lot closer than you think it would be.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah, but when have you ever been
I think
sure
in
about Kimi
I think
Antonelli?
in 2 or 3 years time it would be, but right now I think Verstappen would be faster and more consistent. So
Has
yeah.
Kimi been that inconsistent this year?
No, he hasn't. He's been very good, but yeah.
Fair enough. We'll agree to disagree on that one. We did have a couple of other bits of news, though, didn't we, Jamie? As we came to the weekend, obviously, I think the big talk for a lot of teams was going to be about upgrades, and then we kind of ended up in this bizarre scenario where, because it's a sprint weekend, because there's only one practice session, because it's the first race weekend back, a lot of teams actually didn't end up bringing upgrades, or a lot of teams have, delayed upgrades for the next couple of race weekends. McLaren, I don't know if you've seen this, brought a fascinating new rear wing to the circuit.
I didn't see that.
So
no.
it basically, like, if you're looking at the wing from the side profile, like kind of the face looking at you at like a perfect 90-degree angle, that is like rippled and has like wave effects on it now to try and direct airflow in different places, which is kind of mad that it's meant to be a smooth surface. But obviously,
How have they got away with that?
It's within the rules this year. Other teams do it to a lesser extent, but McLaren have got like so many kind of like effects on it to make kind of channel the airflow into different places. And then Alpine as well also brought some upgrades, but only for Pierre Gasly, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah. And Honda had upgrades for the Aston Martin engine as well.
But they didn't, though, I didn't think. I thought
No,
they
they
delayed
did.
them.
They did.
Oh, they did bring him in the end.
They did,
okay.
yeah.
Which ended up,
Didn't help.
spoiler alert, worked quite well in the end.
Well, it did, but the quali pace was still just as dreadful, wasn't it? So
Well, in the sprint
didn't help
qualifying,
much.
it was pretty awful. But that was more down to the fact that Fernando didn't have any straight line mode, and then Stroll is Stroll.
Also, Lance Stroll, one Q1 elimination away from being to reach the first driver ever to reach 100 Q1 eliminations. As a fun fact.
What, in sprint quali?
No, in regular quality.
Oh, in regular, I was going to say, I didn't really sprint qualify. So he's the first driver ever to get eliminated in Q1 100 times.
Well, he's on 99 at the moment. One
Oh,
more.
sorry. There you go. So next week in Monza in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be going, he's the first driver ever to be eliminated in 100 Q1s.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Second most, I believe, was Kevin Magnussen. But
Yes, I think it was, wasn't it? But again, this
I
is the
remember him
thing
taking
now.
the lead.
All it takes is 4 years in a backmarker car. And Stroll's had 10 years of being a backmarker driver.
and sometimes in a front running car. But
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Still finds his way out in Q1 though. I mean, he's even by Lance Stroll's low benchmark, he's just even qualifying isn't generally his strong point anyway, is it?
One pole position.
One pole position though, still. Sprint qualify. I mean, let's just absolutely smash through the sprint part of the weekend, Jamie, because spoiler alert, it was pretty boring on the most.
It was
part.
awful.
It was
awful.
very very dull in the end.
I missed it because I was playing football and locking down right back at a Manchester playing field. But so I watched it when I got home, and the highlights on the F1 website went from lap 1 to lap 16
Yep.
out
That
of
seems about
what,
right.
21 laps or something? Was it?
24 laps was the sprint.
20, yeah. And I'm like, right, if we've jumped 2/3 of the race, clearly it's not been that interesting.
It's not a great omen. I mean, qualifying first of all. Qualifying, to be fair to it, for the sprint was quite interesting. Obviously, because it was very, very tightly bunched up towards the front. In fact, I believe it was the 4th time ever that in the top 4 come the end of qualifying were covered by less than a 1/10 of a second.
That's cool.
Which
and
is
this
quite
is probably
an
the first
impressive
one in
stat.
sprint qualifying.
Yes, it was. It happened once in 2023, 1997 season finale where 3 of them were
Oh, yeah.
tied. And then once more, I want to say in the early 2000s as well.
Yeah, fair. It was very, very tight. I guess that's the nature of when you have such a short track. Like, do you remember the Austria qualifying? I think it was 24 when in Q1 the whole grid was separated by a second.
Less than a second, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is absolutely mad.
Crazy.
But yeah, George Russell would take the pole just ahead of Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc in P3, so 3 cars, 3 different teams, covered by less than a 1/10. And then Andrea Kimi Antonelli in P4. Here's my fun sprint race fact, though, that I think should sum it up for everybody. There were 3 on-track overtakes in the sprint. 2 of them the broadcast missed, which is just F1 in a nutshell. I honestly feel like the broadcast this year has taken a huge leap backwards. Not a step backwards, a huge leap
You know what?
backwards.
I want to give the broadcast some praise for their last lap coverage in Zandvoort, but in the Grand Prix. But we'll get to that later.
We will get back to that later on.
What were the other two? Obviously, the main one that happened was Leclerc got past Norris for second.
Leclerc got past Norris, which was the one that we saw on the stream. I honestly believe, I think it was a Lance Stroll overtake. From
that
what I
wouldn't surprise
gathered.
me. He was one of the best drivers on the grid. So.
And then, someone else, I think, outside the top 10 that made no difference in the end.
Maybe that's why they didn't show him.
Yeah, but I'd rather see an overtake for 17th than no overtake at all. Am I crazy
possibly.
for having that opinion?
I don't think so. I'd rather see, if it's an intense battle for the lead, but no overtakes happen, I would
But there
rather watch that.
wasn't. George was
No,
up
I know.
the road.
I know there wasn't. Yeah. Yeah.
Shocking.
But yeah, Russell won it. 8 points. Did actually get a bit of a few positions on Antonelli, so good sprint race for George Russell, relatively speaking, for the rest of his season. Leclerc second, Norris third, Antonelli fourth, and everyone else stayed in order, didn't they? With
in the top 8
Piastri,
anyway.
Verstappen, Hamilton, Gasly. Not the best sprint from Hamilton, being like 6 positions behind his teammate, but there you go.
Lewis does
5
seem to. It
positions,
feels
sorry.
like this year more seems to struggle in the sprint section of a weekend.
Yeah, it was one of his best bits in 2025, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of one of the only times he felt like he was still Lewis, and now this year, this is just so Lewis Hamilton. It now seems to have gone the other way again. But getting to real qualifying though, Jamie, again, quite an entertaining session. Well, we'd seen it right at the end of the sprint, hadn't we? Despite the fact it made no difference. That we saw some rain begin to fall right at the very end. Doesn't still technically count as a wet session though. We're still waiting. It has been more than 12 months now since our last wet session. But it did mean that then there was kind of rain and rumbling around the circuit as we went into qualifying. And we ended up in a bizarre scenario, didn't we, in Q3, where everybody went out early for their final runs.
Yeah, and it was the Ferraris were the only ones that didn't, and I proper thought they'd messed it up. Because as the first drivers were going out for their second runs, I believe it was Russell and Norris were the first two out.
Yes.
Because Russell was trying to pass Norris on his out lap.
Yeah, I think Kimi might have been further up the road.
Yeah, possibly. No, because Russell went past Piastri, didn't he, on the way out of the pit lane? That was pretty dodgy.
That was fine. He was past the pit lane.
It was fine,
He's
but
allowed.
it didn't.
If
it was
Max
very
Verstappen
optimistic.
did that, you'd throw him a party, son. Don't
Maybe
say
I
you
would,
wouldn't.
but yeah.
I
it
remember
didn't-
you hyping him up in Brazil a couple of years ago for doing exactly that. But when George does it, it's dangerous.
All right, fair play, Russell. Good overtake. Probably one of the overtakes he made all weekend.
All
really.
weekend, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work. I actually think it probably screwed Russell over a bit because his prep was probably not great.
But you had to
as
build
those-
up tyre temp. I don't think it really screwed him over.
Maybe not, but his last lap was definitely like less good than he would have liked because he was looking on it all weekend and in the end didn't quite get pole, obviously by less than half a tenth, so maybe it was just unfortunate. But yes, the Ferraris, I thought they were going to be done by the time they came around, but it was still dry, just about. So maybe not ideal preparation and tyre and track conditions, but they still got their laps in. So
Yeah, and still ended up, what was it, 5th and 6th in the end, wasn't it? Yeah, because it was
Yeah.
McLaren, Mercedes, wasn't it? On the front two rows, and then both Ferraris, and then both Red Bulls, because
Kimi
still...
was third ahead of Piastri, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it was McLaren, Mercedes, McLaren, wasn't it? And then both Ferraris, and then both Red Bulls.
Both
Fair
Red
play, Liam
Bulls.
Lawson. Give him a bit of credit here. He was only 10th,
Yeah.
I think it was just over a 10th away from Max in the end.
Yeah.
So
I will
you're
say Verstappen
suggesting
was-
that
was
Andrea
ill.
Kimi Antonelli is slower than Liam Lawson?
Well, he could be half a tenth quicker than Liam Lawson, and then he's still behind Max.
Goodness sake, man.
So, Max was ill all weekend. He had a pretty poor weekend, didn't he? So,
Well, I don't know.
it wasn't
I'd say
great.
his weekend went very well up until this point.
What, qualifying 7th, a 10th ahead of a driver just jumping in?
Well, yeah, but Red Bull couldn't do much more.
No,
I mean,
Germany
with the drivers
2019.
they had, I reckon Hadjar would have probably put that car third because he's a
Third.
Dutch Grand Prix merchant.
I guess he is actually. Maybe he would have done. But yeah, the German Grand Prix 2019, Hamilton obviously got pole and then cried a ton about how unwell he was feeling, and everyone was like, "Stop crying, get back on the track." And then he crashed loads in the race. So I'm just going to say, illness and flu massively impact your ability to drive a Formula One car. So
I don't think
Max-
that's a revolutionary statement.
no,
either.
it's not. But Max was ill this weekend, so we can just forget about it.
Fair enough. I mean, let's get into the Grand Prix then, Jamie. Race day Sunday. Again, there was a little bit of drama when it came to the weather. It had rained kind of intermittently throughout the morning before the Grand Prix. So despite the fact, again, everybody was on dry tyres, so it doesn't constitute a wet session. We're still waiting more than a year now for F1's next wet weather session. The circuit was fairly damp in certain places, especially right towards the end of the lap. So that meant the opening couple of laps were potentially going to be rather dicey.
Yes. I was watching it without sound on, so I didn't know any of this. But
couldn't you tell with your eyes?
Some drivers found out that the last corner was a bit slippery at the end of lap 1. But the race start was fairly interesting. All the drivers on the clean side of the grid got away much better than the drivers on the dirty side of the grid. So Norris led. Anthony got past Russell straight away. Max Verstappen and Liam Lawson had a bit of a scrap in turn 3, but Max stayed ahead just. I was a bit surprised that Liam Lawson gave him a fight, but fair play.
This is Liam Lawson, though, isn't it?
Are
you that surprised?
Well, no, but it feels like if you were like a reserve driver coming in for one race, and the big man is right next to you on the track, you would just be like, "I'm out the way."
No,
like you remember
you're here to prove yourself, man. This is your whole Red Bull Max Verstappen culture. He's there to race. If he's quicker than Max, or he thinks he's got an opportunity to overtake Max, overtake him. Go for it. And I'm sure, honestly, in that moment, Max Verstappen quite enjoyed it as well.
He probably did, yeah. Especially since there's actually nothing much to fight for.
Exactly. Why are you worried?
Tsunoda in Qatar last year when he out-qualified Verstappen, and he immediately jumped out the way.
Jumped out the way, didn't he, on like lap 1, yeah.
But obviously different scenario. But
exactly. Lawson... in that scenario, I do understand it. In this scenario, though, stop crying and get back on the track.
Have a fight, yeah, why not?
Exactly. And it didn't make any difference anyway. Liam should have got past him anyway, because coming through the final corner, obviously Lando able to tiptoe through, does a good job. Andrea Kimi Antonelli does a good job. George Russell does a good job. The Ferraris do a good job. Oscar Piastri does a good job. Max Verstappen comes through, lap 1, last ever Dutch Grand Prix, and stacks it. Big style.
It was a big crash, and I thought it was a lot worse than it actually was at first, because it looked like the other driver who spun, which was Bortoletto, at first it looked like he might have gone into the spinning Verstappen. So, yeah, glad that everyone was all right. Obviously, red flag. Obviously, I'm not going to defend Verstappen much for this because it was a bad mistake. But
I mean, it was one of those things, wasn't it? Last Dutch Grand Prix, he was either going to win it or bin it.
I don't even think he was pushing that hard.
No, I'm not even saying he was pushing that hard. I just figured out it was going to be one or the other, wouldn't it? Just that Formula 1 script.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. There's no championship to fight for.
Hang on a minute, you were saying just last week about how he's only like 5 points further away from the title lead than he was last year. Now the title
with a
fight
much
was
worse car this year. Did you see the interview with Lando Norris after qualifying when he was like, someone asked him on the prospect of him winning the World Championship?
Yes, yeah.
And he was like, if Mercedes have a double DSQ in Vegas and don't take a free pit stop in Qatar, maybe I've got a chance.
Yeah.
So I rated that from Lando, but yeah, not great for Max, I will say. But yeah, he was ill. So
that's what you're going with, is it?
Yeah.
Mr. He could be Andrea Kimi Antonelli if he put him in the Mercedes. Oh no, he's got a cold this weekend. It's not his fault he crashed.
5 minutes ago, he said that it's not a new fact that having a cold massively impairs your ability to drive an F1 car. So there you go.
And yet you still think he could beat Kimi. Shocking.
Well, he hasn't got ill for 10 years, has he? So
I don't know. Bortoletto, obviously, yeah, like we said, he went for a spin as well through that final corner. If you watch the onboard from Bortoletto, obviously, I know Max, and I'm not trying to wind you up by saying this, it was immediately, as soon as he got the snap of oversteer, it was gone. There was nothing he could do about it. Bortoletto, though, if you watch his onboard, he did that perfectly to keep it out of the barrier as well, because he let the back end come round and got back on the throttle at the perfect time to square it back up, which I was a bit disappointed with, because do you remember back in Miami when Max stacked it there, and then Martin Brundle basically spent the next 20 laps going on about how he was so good because he span out but didn't stack it. Basically, then nothing was talked about with Bortoletto. It was all about the fact Hülkenberg avoided him.
Well, that was a crazy avoidance from Hülkenberg, wasn't it?
Again, he did absolutely the right thing, but it was one of those ones where it was like, he did the right thing. He's on a bank corner. The car in front is going to slide down the hill. Yeah, like, he should be going that side.
It is very quick thinking. But what I will say, Spain 2018, Romain Grosjean spins at turn 3, lights up the rear tyre to try and do a 360, and blinds everyone behind him, and 2 cars crash into him, and he gets absolutely hounded for it. So, Bortoleto doing the same thing. Obviously, there was tyre smoke.
He didn't do the same thing. He got back on the throttle way later. That's the whole point.
He still spun the tyres up and put a cloud of smoke in the air, didn't he?
So, just to try and get out of the way. If he hadn't have done that, he would have been in the middle of the road. Hulkenberg would have hit him and wouldn't score points.
Well, it could have gone a lot worse, I think.
Yeah, but my point is it didn't, because he did it at the right time. And there's not enough praise for him about it. This is what I'm trying to say.
Why are we trying to praise a driver who spun out a second ago? You're like, Max is terrible.
Because Bortoleto didn't hit the wall.
But he qualified well and then lost 4 or 5 places by spinning on lap 1. Yeah.
My point is Bortoleto did a good job to not hit the wall and not take anybody else out.
I think not taking anyone else out was mostly on Hulkenberg to avoid, rather than Bortoleto spinning. He could have done a better job not causing a spin in the first place. But
it was so good, Max Verstappen.
Well, yeah, he didn't take anyone out either. Where's his praise?
Because Bortoleto slowed everybody down behind him. He saved him.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It did kind of ruin it, though, didn't it? Because it then meant with the red flag out, the track dried up before we went going again.
Yeah. They did seem to wait just long enough until the track was dry. I was watching Man City during the red flag, to be honest. But
oh, good heavens, why?
Haaland captain on FPL, mate. It didn't go well, but you know.
Wait, that's why you watched it?
Yeah. Well, what am I watching? I'm not watching cars sat on the grid and the camera panning across the fans, am I? What's the point?
Yeah, but we had a bizarre moment. Well, first of all, it was hilarious kind of still seeing the DJ trying to hype up the Verstappen stand, despite the fact he's out. We then also had the bizarre moment when the cars were trying to roll back out onto the grid, and then 4 of them weren't allowed to go. Stroll had to wait at the end of the pit lane with, I think it was the Haas of Behrman and then both caddies, because the red light came back on pit lane exit before all the cars got out. Then Ollie Behrman's car broke down anyway, so it basically was then we had to do another formation lap. So it felt like we waited nearly an hour and we still hadn't actually had more than 1 racing lap.
Yeah, exactly. But eventually we got a second restart. Behrman's weekend was not on too much anyway, so...
Well, Haas have just done Haas things, haven't they? Start the year really well and then do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But the second restart, Kimi Antonelli gets another good start, and obviously took Russell on the first start, and then second start, he jumps Lando off the line, takes the lead, and that looks like that. And despite having not a great weekend in terms of quali pace in both qualifying sessions, Antonelli's in the lead. He's got plenty of track position over George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, and you're like, well, I guess he's going to extend his championship lead again. So, fair play. Race starts are very important. So
they certainly are. And yeah, Kimi just did a great job again. I honestly was so confused when I watched the restart, because I thought it was George going for the move. I forgot Kimi had jumped him on the first start, so I thought it was George going for P1. I was like, how on earth's Kimi done that? And it was like, oh right, yeah, of course, he jumped him beforehand. But I mean, from then on, of course, up at the front of the order, it was probably a good job. I mean, spoiler alert. It was probably a good job Kimi did get him off the start, because otherwise Lando was just going to drive away, wasn't he? It was clear that McLaren had the edge over or at least Lando had the edge over everybody else. I was thinking about this afterwards. Lando Norris is definitely much better when he's not in a world title fight. He's much more bearable.
Yeah. He is, and he's actually really fast as well. Like
he's proven this year why he deserved that title last year.
Yeah, I think he gets in his own head a lot when the pressure's on. But obviously when the pressure's not on, he can just drive freely, and he's actually really good. So this is why we were praising him so much back in like 23 and 21 even.
Yeah, 2021. That first half of the year. Oh, was it? Yeah, 2021, wasn't it?
He was third after Hungary.
Yeah,
in 21.
Mad. Absolutely
in
mad.
The World Championship. In a McLaren that was probably fourth, maybe third or fourth fastest.
Third fastest. Definitely
but
third
he should never have been ahead of Perez and Bottas.
No, but they were both being used as sacrificial lambs constantly.
Yes, every race. Yeah, exactly. But he is a bit of a Zandvoort specialist as well. Obviously, that's 3 wins, is it? No,
two
DNF
wins
last year.
Yeah.
2 wins in total. I was going to say 3 in a row. But
yeah,
no.
3 for Max, 2 for Lando, 1 for Oscar.
Yeah. But yeah, Oscar, he was third briefly at the start, wasn't he? but then had a slow pit stop, and the race just completely got away from him. So he was never. I don't know what's going on with Piastri this year, to be honest, but
yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's really odd, isn't it? I think
he's just not had any race pace like ever.
Well, he did it Suzuka. It felt like Suzuka was a bit of a false dawn almost, wasn't it? Because we've said this before. He probably deserved to win Suzuka. Kimi got a bit lucky with the strategy there, and Oscar was keeping him at bay up to that point. But I wonder if it's a bit of that kind of runners-up. Well, I know obviously he didn't end up finishing runner-up last year, did he? But kind of that bit of a lull. Yeah.
In 2011, obviously Webber kind of got his soul beaten out of him in 2010.
But even that was more down to the new Pirelli tyres and everything like that Webber just couldn't really adapt to in the right way. And I wonder, of course, again, whether there was a bit more kind of focus on land. I think, again, part of it is down to the fact that obviously the tyre-saving ability on that McLaren last year was a bit of a cheat code and did seem to help out Oscar a bit more. It seemed to be a bigger weakness for him than it was Lando in the first place. But, yeah, it's a bit of a shame from Oscar at the moment. I want to see him kind of fighting back towards the end of the year, and especially as we head into 27.
Yeah, but right now he's massively at an arm's length from Lando Norris. No. So that is a shame. But at least he gave us a title fight, because if it was like this last year, Norris would have walked away with it by 2/3 of the way through the season. So,
bit like Kimi has with George.
Well, yeah, exactly. So it was an all right race, wasn't it, in the most part?
It was, again, one of those ones where a terrible track was kind of made watchable. The first half was pretty dead, but then once kind of the strategy played out and everybody realised it was going to be a 2 or a 3 stop, I think it became a bit more entertaining because people weren't so worried about looking after tyres anymore.
Yeah, and you had a lot of differential going on in the strategies, so that was quite interesting. Obviously, Hamilton went for a big offset, and went eventually found his way into the lead briefly, but had a third pit stop to make. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton had a bit of a scrap, didn't they, with Hamilton's unhappy radio messages, but rightly so, because when your drivers are on different strategies, you should be on the radio immediately to get one of them out of the way.
I'm not going to say immediately that Hamilton's beating Leclerc in the World Championship, they need to just focus all their efforts behind him. But I still want to... Well, I mean, what's the gap between Ferrari and Mercedes right now in the Constructors?
Quite a bit, I think.
It must be like 80 points-ish, isn't it? 87 points, I believe. Yeah, 87 points. It's not out the realms... And I feel, again, because obviously Ferrari, you could argue, dropped some points this weekend anyway. I'm not going to sit here and sort of go, Ferrari, they could be winning both championships had they made Leclerc the number 2. But it does kind of feel like they've already given up any hope of trying to kind of work as a team to give themselves a better chance. Because all it takes is a couple of Mercedes reliability issues and suddenly you're 30 points back again. And a couple of races that maybe suit your car. It kind of feels like Ferrari aren't even taking their own chance seriously sometimes, which is mighty frustrating.
I do think it's a slim chance based on what we've seen.
Yeah.
In terms of the Mercedes is just a really good all-rounder, so it's highly unlikely.
McLaren aren't that far behind you anymore.
No. That would be the main priority.
You've got to start thinking about that. McLaren are, again, only, 75 points back and looking good.
It looks like Ferrari are just there to kind of have some fun and let their drivers race a bit, but they're not actually interested in coming first in either championship at the moment.
No.
And I don't think it's a massive possibility of beating Antonelli or Mercedes in either championship, but you might as well just maximise your chances and, see what happens. So, yeah, I was a little bit surprised it took them over a lap to get Leclerc out of the way when Hamilton was on fresher tyres. But yeah, in the end, I guess it didn't really matter.
No. Ultimately, I think they were destined for P4. Once Oscar Piastri
although Hamilton might have beaten Russell.
Hamilton, I think they could have both potentially got the jump on Russell right towards the very end, but I don't think it was a given either ultimately. But it's that kind of just that thing of, well, you don't know unless you try. Anyway, isn't it? And
exactly.
Ferrari just seemed kind of resigned to this idea that we must finish second.
And we must keep both drivers happy. That's
exactly,
what the main priority is.
Bizarre. I understand, of course, Leclerc's been there a long time and all this, that, and the other. And I saw some people online going, Ferrari have had to accommodate so much for Lewis. They've given him his brakes that he wanted. Leclerc's now got those same brakes because they're clearly better. like,
also, you would accommodate a driver when you're paying him like 80 mil a year.
Exactly.
So
it's bizarre.
Like, I wouldn't feel that sorry for Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton, to be honest.
No, but on the other hand, you also kind of think also Charles Leclerc, he's been able to win a race. He was completely in the doldrums until he started taking on some of the Lewis, the upgrades that Lewis brought to the car, the changes, like the brakes we said, a couple of setup tweaks as well. Suddenly then won Silverstone.
Yeah. So, clearly Hamilton's brakes are better.
He's got the same brakes now.
No, that's what I mean. Hamilton's brakes are better than the Brembo brakes that they had for the last 50-odd years.
Yeah, it's very, very weird. We did get a bit of drama late on, didn't we? Obviously, Lando was finally able to get back past Kimi when he got stuck a little bit behind Lewis late on in the day. Good move by Lando Norris for the lead of the Grand Prix.
Also, good move, talking of, Nico Hülkenberg getting past Pierre Gasly and Arvid Lindblad at the outside of turn 11 and then the outside of turn 1 within 4 corners.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Well, helped along by the fact that the Audi, again, bizarrely, is a really good car in a straight line, but seems to be best at high downforce circuits.
Yeah, I don't really get Audi at the moment, but they're just fine, aren't they? They're good.
They're quintessentially German, is what they're doing.
Yeah, they're just first attempts at building a Formula One power unit, and it's like, right, it's decent, it does the job, happy days. But yeah, 2 points finishes in a row for Nico Hülkenberg after everyone was saying he's finished, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, very good job. Very good job.
P8 in the end.
Best
and it
of the
made
rest.
his race getting past Gasly and Lindblad because he finished about 20 seconds ahead of Gasly in the end.
Yeah, and he was about 10 seconds up the road from anybody else, wasn't he?
Without that move, he was obviously not going to beat Gasly. So.
No, very well done to him. Very well done to him. We did get another couple of random bits and pieces. Still, for the life of me, Fernando Alonso just appeared in the top 10 late in the day.
He did one fewer stop than everyone
that's
else.
what I
The tyre
thought
wear was
happened.
Great.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just literally that's exactly what happened. It was suddenly like it was the Lindblad and Hülkenberg Gasly battling for the point, and then you look 5 laps later and Alonso's just ahead of all of them, apart from Hülkenberg who'd gone. But yeah, really odd, but fair play. I think a lot of retirements happened.
Well, not really. Alonso wasn't going to already be. I guess maybe the Haas. No, because Haas were terrible anyway.
And then Bottas retired. I didn't see why at the end, but
I think it was brakes again, as always with Cadillac.
Classic. They're going to sack the new team principal then.
Probably. I assume so. Williams also, crashed into each other for fun late on in the day. Because why on earth wouldn't they do that? Actually, fun fact, Jamie, all 3 drivers that had crashed this weekend had just signed new long-term contracts.
Oh, fantastic. That's a shame. The Sainz one was a bit weird, wasn't it? I think it was just a mistake, but Albon was up at the outside and he just double locked up. And a very well-timed virtual safety car for George Russell, though. So
yeah,
my favourite one about that.
My favourite one about that was the fact that someone had commented going, well, it's not a surprise Sainz crashed into Albon. He can't see the colour blue after, obviously, the Piastri incident at Hungary, which did make me chuckle.
Very good.
But yeah, ultimately, I think it's safe to say the quickest driver won in the end. Kimi would have put up a great defensive fight if he'd held on. But Lando and McLaren, I think, were the team to beat this weekend and did do a very good job. Again, though, a bit like Hungary, Kimi ended up beating his closest title competitors, so I don't think he's going to have too many complaints. I'm sure would love the victory.
And he extended his... I guess he did extend his championship lead, didn't he? Because he beat Hamilton in both sprint and GP.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, George
Russell and Anthony scored
the
same number
amount
of points
as George, but Lewis obviously scored less.
Lewis Hamilton and George Russell currently on 183 points, so I thought I'd mention that.
Shout out to Jamie 183. Kimi's jumped to 12, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. He's too good.
242 points for Kimi Antonelli now. Fair play to him. But yes, obviously Lando won, Kimi second, George third. Is that a new podium combo?
Yeah, I guess it is, because Lando's only won in the last race.
Yeah, wonderful. Hamilton fourth ahead of Leclerc in the end. Both could have potentially jumped George if they not messed each other around early on. Apparently Leclerc, after he crossed the line as well, shook his head at Hamilton. Or wagged his finger or something.
On the last lap, they almost crashed going into turn 6, didn't they?
They did, because Leclerc was going for a ridiculous move.
Yeah, he was. What I'm a little bit surprised about, and maybe this is unfair on Mercedes, but they obviously ordered Russell out of the way of Antonelli to protect from the Ferraris, effectively. I think Russell should have asked to stop him back when they were still there at the end.
That would have been incredibly risky.
Incredibly
surely.
difficult.
Yeah.
But
I'm surprised
you
George
tried
gave
that
it up
with
as
me on
easily as
co-op
he did.
once.
Have I?
Yeah, you let me
so
through on
many
co-op.
years ago now.
I tried to get another position, couldn't, and then let you back through. But you had about 17 cars right behind you. I remember that. So,
How much do you remember from our co-op that I just don't?
well, it traumatized me. So,
Fair enough.
yeah, I think George Russell was a bit unlucky to not beat Antonio.
On the one
in
hand, he was
Grand Prix.
unlucky, but clearly through race pace anyway, he didn't deserve more than third.
I don't know. He got pole. He was decent in the race. Got an unlucky strategy compared to Antonio, didn't he? So, yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Race rating, Jamie, or do you want to do quiz first?
You can do your quiz. Why not? It should be a quick one.
Okay.
Because Liam Lawson drove
Liam
in a Red Bull
Lawson.
racing car for the first time since Chinese Grand Prix in 2025.
Yep.
You just have to name me the top 10
Not from that race.
from that race in the Grand Prix.
Okay.
And if you get one wrong, it's done.
Okay.
I mean, not on the clock, but go quickly.
Wonderful. Lando,
Yes.
Oscar,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Charles.
Wrong. He got disqualified.
Damn it. Oh, he did. Yeah, of course. Yeah, both Ferraris got DSQ'd.
Good job.
Didn't they?
3 out of 10.
Way, I'll take it. Oh yeah, because Behrman got like 5th, didn't he? Or Ocon got like 5th.
Ocon came 5th. Behrman came 8th. Hamilton and Leclerc both got disqualified along with Gasly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
That's a shame.
Liam Lawson, not one of the drivers to get points, but he did finish 12th in the end.
Wow.
Promoted by 3 DSQs in the post-race. But
Yep. Wonderful.
yeah, there you go. Matt did not do so well on the quiz this week.
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
Though.
race rating. Was it good? I mean, I kind of enjoyed it.
It had, again, it was one of those things, wasn't it, like I said, where it made, these new regs kind of made what is normally a terrible racetrack somewhat entertaining. I was more worried after the sprint and the first half of the Grand Prix. But kind of once people kind of realised that the one-stop, like, it wasn't just going to be a dead one-stop race.
I kind of thought Piastri was going to the end when he started the second, like,
Well, I
lap
don't get
2
why
was
you
on
pit
hards.
off the hard so early.
Yeah, it was a bit weird, wasn't it?
Such an odd choice by McLaren, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm going to give it a solid 5.5.
That's quite low, I thought. Belgium, you gave 5.5. I'll give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I'll up it to a 6. I'll up it to a 6 then.
Okay. It was somewhat enjoyable. I liked it.
Fair enough.
Predictions. You smashed me up again, I think. Classic.
What were the scores on the doors coming in?
I was
don't think I
9
did that much
points
better than you.
behind.
Yeah. What was it?
I was
40.
9 points
Sorry,
behind.
40-31.
Yes, 40-31. So I said, good start, George Russell to win the sprint. Correct.
Yep, 2 points.
You said Antonelli would win. You didn't. I said Russell would get pole.
Lando Norris on pole.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, I forgot. I thought Russell got pole for a sec. I was like, I'm sure that you got that right.
Yeah.
And you did.
2 points to me.
Because you said Lando Norris would get pole position.
Yeah.
So 2-2 before we get into the GP.
Yeah.
My podium, George Russell, which obviously gets me a point.
So you get a point.
Max Verstappen.
That's a
who
shame.
Didn't even get to lap 2, let alone finish P2.
No.
And Charles Leclerc.
That's
who
a shame.
was only less than a second off of finishing 3rd, but he finished 5th. You said
3 points to
Lando
you
Norris
then.
would win.
Yeah. So that's immediately 2 points to me. So
immediately
I've already
two.
pulled out my margin.
You said George Russell would finish 2nd.
So that's a point.
And you said Kimi Antonelli would finish 3rd.
So I got all of the podium correct. Just annoyingly, if George Russell had actually fought Antonelli, I would have got 8
well,
points.
if they swapped them back like they should have.
Yeah, exactly. So 6 points to me, 3 points to you.
Yeah.
I've let you close back in the last couple of races before the summer break, but I've decided there's no messing around.
It's not going great, is it?
No, not for you anyway.
Not for me, no. Driver of the day. You can go first. I know who I'm giving it to.
Are you going to say Nico Hulkenberg?
I am indeed. Even though he actually had a pretty poor weekend up until the race.
Yeah.
But
Fernando Alonso, I think, deserves a shout out as well. He did very, very well. Lando Norris, again, just got the job done. Liam Lawson, to his credit, first time back in a Red Bull. I think, obviously, had Max stayed in the race, I don't think Red Bull were really going to be able to do anything more. So he kind of got the job done. Which I think there's something to be said about that as well, considering obviously what happened to him last time he was down at Red Bull.
He did a lot better than last time, but
he finished exactly where the car should, and that's not really the point of driver of the day, is
but
it?
he did. But then he also was a lot closer to the midfield than he was to the front.
Exactly.
But I don't think that's where Max would have finished.
You reckon Max would have got higher up the... He might have got Oscar, I suppose.
Well, I don't think he'd have been closer to Hulkenberg than he was to Oscar.
No.
So
No. But again, when you're in that scenario with someone coming in, you don't just push that hard if there's nothing to gain, do you? I guess. I'm going to say Alonso, though, anyway. Nice. In my full Aston Martin gear, for some reason.
Yeah. Fernando Alonso's back. And that's... Is that everything? I think we've rattled through
you just saying Hulkenberg, are you?
I am saying
okay,
Hulkenberg,
that's
yes.
fair enough.
Despite, again, not a great... He obviously got beaten in both qualifying sessions.
So hang on a minute. We slagged off Liam Lawson for getting the job done, but Hulkenberg, Audi was probably best of the rest. Hulkenberg finished best of the rest, but you're hyping him up.
He shouldn't have beaten an Alpine if Gasly executed his race better.
Yeah, I suppose. I think Alpine was probably still a quicker car. But then Alpine still ended up outscoring VCarb, which is important for them.
Lindblad didn't do well either this weekend. He needs Lawson by his side.
He certainly does. Thank you all, as always, though, so much for listening. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed. Jamie, when are we next back? Obviously, we've got a break week now again, don't we?
Next week.
We're back at Monza.
For the Monza preview.
Yeah, Monza preview show probably at some point mid next week. We might end up doing another show if some drama happens between now and then. But yeah, thank you all, as always, so much for listening. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, drop a follow, all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll return next week then to preview the Italian Grand Prix.